Hello, this is Renata Martinez with ThinkReliability, and today I want to present facilitation tip number 16, and that's to validate your cause and effect relationships after you've placed a cause on your cause map, or even at the end when you're trying to finalize the documentation. I want you to validate those cause and effect relationships to make sure that it reads accurately. So validating these cause and effect relationships can be done in a variety of ways. The way that I usually do it is I start on the far left-hand side, so any one of the affected goals, and then I read those cause and effect relationships like a sentence, asking why as I continue to read to the right. Some people also like to substitute the word because every time that there's an arrow. Now, not physically on your map, but every time they come to an arrow, they'll read the word because. And that helps them to make sense of the cause and effect relationships. And then the not so obvious question is what else is required? So as you're reading it from left to right, you'll also need to consider the question, is this cause required to produce this effect, or what else was required? And that will help you validate it, and it will read a little bit more cleanly, because sometimes the why question just doesn't read correctly or doesn't seem logical. So consider the why and the what's required questions. If you're reading them out loud and you notice that you're saying the word then between the causes, it's a pretty common mistake. But what's happening there is you've likely laid out those boxes in chronological order. So instead of documenting the cause and effect, you're actually documenting the chronology of the event in an attempt to do it in cause and effect form. So it won't read correctly. You might have some good information there, but you might have to fine-tune that information to make sure that you're actually laying out cause and effect. Effect is on the left and cause is on the right. So looking at a 4Y cause map about the chicken crossing the road, I'm going to start on the very far left-hand side. So there is an impact to safety because there's potential for the chicken to be hit by a car. That makes sense, so I'm going to keep reading to the right. There was a potential for the chicken to be hit by the car. Why? Because the chicken crossed the road. That makes sense, so I'm going to continue to read to the right. The chicken crossed the road because chicken was trying to get to the other side. Makes sense. Why was the chicken trying to get to the other side? Because it was attempting to escape quarantine, poultry quarantine. That 4Y made sense. It read logically out loud. I'm okay with that. Let's look at another example. So we've got a 3Y here. Again, starting with the impact to safety. There was an impact to safety because there's potential for the chicken to be hit by the car. Why was there a potential for the chicken to be hit by the car? Because it crossed the road. It's making sense so far. And then we get to the chicken crossed the road. Why? Because there was a car in the road. Well, we know that the chicken crossed the road in an attempt to escape. It's trying to get to the other side to escape quarantine. So we know that the car didn't spook the chicken into the road. So the chicken crossed the road because the car was in the road. That's just not making sense. Is the car in the road required for the chicken to cross the road? No, it doesn't even fit when you're asking the what's required question. So I'm thinking that we need to utilize facilitation tip number 14 and understand where that cause actually fits. By going through that exercise, we realize that both the car and the chicken have to be present at the same time for there to be a potential for that chicken to be hit by the car. If the chicken crosses the road and then an hour later the car is there, the potential is probably not going to even be noted. But if it's close to the same time, that potential is highlighted. It becomes a little bit more clear that both the chicken and the car are required for that potential near miss. As you're adding causes to your cause map diagrams or finalizing the documentation, I highly encourage you to go back and validate those cause and effect relationships by reading those out loud. That will help understand if you've correctly placed your causes. I hope that helps. The PDF may be found on our website. And in the meantime, if you have any other questions or facilitation concerns, please don't hesitate to reach out. You know where to find me. Thank you. Bye-bye.